Hello friend, I'm Pat Sloan. This is my daily. We've got a great topic for the day, and I'm going to bring you up to date on a few of the sew-alongs that are coming up, give you a little sneak peek of some of the items, and then we have question number 3 from Lisa's 5 questions. Fun stuff, fun stuff. So I meant to sort of spread out this topic of color parade so that, you know, like through the month, but apparently I seem to have not spread them out far enough. Every time I turn around, it's like, oh, it's another color parade. So I'm going to try to do better with that next time, because over at our Facebook group, it becomes a gorgeous, gorgeous display of all of these great quilts that go along with the color parade. So today, the color of the day is purple. So I am hoping to see a lot of purple quilts, or quilts with a lot of purple in them. Now for me personally, this is a color that I have not done many quilts that are predominantly purple or have a strong like sense of, well, there's purple in that quilt. I did a gorgeous one in batiks for my niece for her wedding, and you know, other than that, I've put it in here and there, like, you know, I have eggplants on the farmer's market quilt or in purple fabric. So, you know, I have purple fabric, but I think that's a goal for me coming up maybe next year, is to explore a quilt putting more, you know, focus on the color purple in it. And, you know, the purples go sort of bluish purple and reddish purple, and I tend to lean more towards the reddish side. Imagine that. Imagine that, red. That just seems to be the way I flow. Okay, I like to go towards the color red. So share over at Facebook. If you have, or not a Facebook, you should be there. Just create an account for your quilting only and come join me at Quilt Along with Pat Sloan. So we have several things coming up, and the first one I want to do is talk to you about a little bit about the Socialite Quilt Along, and that is where, here, let me just show you the picture. Okay, so here's the picture of the mock-up, and this is done in my Morrison Park. So it's the sew along has 3 size blocks. You pick one size. To make this quilt look like this, you make it either in the 3-inch, the 6-inch, or the 9-inch. You don't mix the blocks to get this quilt. Now you can mix the blocks and make your own layout. Maybe somebody will do that along the way. Maybe one of the other designers will put up a layout for that. I had to keep it simple because I'm in wrist recovery mode and do not have a lot of ability to be super fancy with anything right now. So I want to show you the first block and the color choices I'm going to be thinking about and what will I actually use. So the first block will be this top corner blue one. I believe it's called Harmony, and that block I am going, because this is the mock-up from Morrison Park Colors, wherever there's the color, I'm going to stick with this mock-up because that makes it easier for everybody who's going to be following along with my fabrics. Okay, so here we have Morrison Park, and now the one thing I want you to note is that you can see the blocks. Now the mock-up, we didn't put fabric colors in most of them. You can see the fabric in a few, like down at the bottom here. We did a fabric job, but we didn't do it for the yellow, just to give a little bit of a mock-up. So my background from Morrison Park is this creamy color that you see, the background of the whole thing. But I'm actually leaning towards doing the blocks with one fabric and white. So I think that might sparkle a bit. It might be kind of nice to do it that way. So if we do it that way, then these are my blue fabrics from Morrison Park. And because that looks like a lighter blue, like look here, you know, to get it balanced out, which is, you know, basically what we're trying to do with the colors, like balance it out. So this is like a more of a medium or lighter blue, and this is a darker blue. So I wouldn't use the darker one. So if I'm going to go through and look at that, I would probably remove this floral, and then I'd probably take this one out too because they're the darker. And then I have these that are more the medium blues. So these would be, you know, any blues that weren't shaded sort of dark. So I have to decide on that particular one. I would not want to do the stripe. I would keep that for something else. And so these are the ones I might use. And because I love this print, I might go with this print first, just because it is so fun. Or I might do this one, little scattery flowers. That is my second option. And then I'll leave this one for another time. So I'm between these two. Now there are a lot more pieces in that block than some of the blocks. Like look at the block below it. That is one where, you know, it would showcase this fabric, you know, any bigger print, a little bit bigger print. And this, because the pieces will be a little bit smaller, I am going to do the 9-inch. I don't know right now that I can handle figuring out 6-inch, even though it's a couple of weeks away. I might commit to 9-inch. So that is how I'm thinking through the colors. It's sort of taking a bunch and then eliminate until I get down to some that I think are my main options. Or maybe you might get down to some where it's like, oh, that's it, it's going to be this one. So I am leaning towards this one because the pieces will be a little bit smaller. It will showcase it. And I'm also leaning towards doing the block with white as the background and then using the creamier color, which is in the fabric line, as the whole base of the quilt. So socialites, that is something that'll be coming up in September. So between now and September, I'm probably going to keep sort of showing things, talking about these different sew-alongs so that you can, you know, hear about them and get interested and think about what you might want to use. Okay, so the second sew-along I want to mention is coming up will be our, this book is so heavy. I'm going to have to, from the Vintage Christmas book, let me just bring this down here because the book is too heavy to lift up. Because I still have the scrap quilt on the wall, I haven't put this quilt back up on the wall, but I will. So this is what we're sewing, and we're going to do it in rows. 1, 2, 3, 4 rows, and then a 5, you know, to sort of finish up. What I have is some other things that, in case you didn't know about. One is that there is a cross-stitch version, which is super cute. So if you don't really want to sew from, this is in this book, Vintage Christmas. If you wanted to sew cross-stitch or bring home the tree, this is, I'll link you to below. Everything's linked below under the video. So that's super cute. Now I want to show you what, if you don't want to do the whole quilt, here is an option. Come on up here. Because I mentioned that it would make, the car would make a super cute table runner. It would make a cute pillow, just the car too, but I think you'd have to make your own pillow form. But here we go. Look, as a table runner. Ta-da! Is that darling or what? My friend Anne made it for me. She put it all together and she's going to be doing one for herself. But isn't this so cute? I just can't stand it. It's so cute. Look at the Jingle Bell fabric for the car and the little deers and the plaid for the windows. This fabric is the Dear Christmas fabric, and then this black background happens to be Blossom. This is Christopher Thomas's Blossom fabric, but the background for the main quilt is a little tiny pink dot, not this particular print. So you need the Vintage Christmas book, and if you only want to do a table runner, that's totally fine. If you want to do the whole quilt with me, mine's done. Then we'll be working on the quilt, and I'll have it hanging up on the days that we talk about it. It'll be on Fridays, and it starts next Friday, August 28th. That is the first day where you start working. Now, some of you have already started, and basically the first week, my approach will be to do it 1 week at a time, but you know, I'm going to give you other ways that you can approach it because everybody's mindset works a little differently, and you may prefer to make all the trees, or you may prefer to make all the cars, you know, however you like to process a pattern. So that is for next Friday. All right. So let's get to question number 3 from our friend Lisa, who left a question, a great question. It is, I have to go back through those questions and get some more because they, you guys did a really good job of giving great questions. Okay, so the third thing Lisa asked was, other than quilting or cooking, because she knows I have Kitchen Adventures with Pat Sloan, the Facebook group, so if you like to cook, come over to Kitchen Adventures. We just share recipes and things. But she goes, do I have any other hobbies or any other passions besides just the quilting and the cooking? So, like most people, yes. I've been fairly focused on quilting as my primary thing, but over the many, many years, I have done practically every craft you can think of, from stained glass to crochet. I've tried knitting. I'm not a knitter. I do embroidery. One of the, like, you name a craft, I probably have tried it. But what I found was quilting has really been the all-encompassing, because I love to sew and I love fabric. So being able to marry the two of those, the sewing and the fabric, into a quilt rather than garments, has been much more satisfying for me. But I like to do those other things. But nowadays I don't really like to dabble in other crafts very much. I prefer, and now that I won't be out on the road all the time, I prefer to get back into my gardening, because I did a tremendous amount of gardening over the years, particularly when I worked in offices, when I worked corporate jobs. I was home, came home every evening, every weekend. I did lots and lots of gardening. And then when we started traveling all over the country, you just could not have a garden. I had to convert parts of it back to grass, lots of it back to grass, because there was just no way to upkeep it when you're gone so much. But once my wrists are better, and that'll be next summer. So we'll fall. I can plant some fall things, hopefully. I can plant some pansies. But I will go back to gardening. Now, I do like to travel. That's another thing. I like to travel. But there's I think there's other interests I have that I have not been able to explore in the last many years, due to running a business and having this as a pretty it takes a lot of my time. Running the business is a large part of my time. So I will get back. I will find some other things and get into them again, because there are things I've thought about. I just don't have a real good list of them right now. Okay, all right. So, and also, do you see I curled my hair? I've only had it cut once since the end of February. I've cut my bangs, but not this side. This I had cut once when she came to the house and cut it after I broke my arms, my wrists. But now it's getting longer again, and so I found that I can hold the lightweight curling iron. It's very lightweight. It's like a travel weight, so I can, but it's skinny, which means it makes tighter curls than I'm used to. I used to use a little bit bigger curls with the bigger fat curling iron, but I can't lift that. Okay, my friend, I love you. I will see you online.